Hi, I'm Greg Ulan with Reynolds of Reynolds, and this is Connected. Today, I'm really excited about this episode. We're on the cusp of heading to New Orleans for the NADA Show 2025, and I'm joined in studio by the legend, none other than Dave Bates, Chief Customer Ambassador at Reynolds of Reynolds, also known as Mr. NADA. So, Dave, thanks so much for joining.
Thanks, Greg. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm even more excited to be in New Orleans next week.
I know, I can't wait. So, I call you Mr. NADA because, well, first of all, you've been to, I think, all of them, all 100 or whatever it's been. We'll get to that in a minute. But, you just bring this energy, and both on the floor, certainly, that everybody gets to see, but also behind the scenes that everybody else doesn't get to see, but we do as Reynolds attendees. And, you always kind of kick us off with this like pregame speech. It's almost like a locker room speech before we go see the booth and everybody's going. So I had to ask, like, where do you get your inspiration for some of these kind of like go get 'em speeches?
I start thinking about it like months in advance, and I really start by reflecting back on kind of some of the things that have gone on in the industry, some of the things we've been doing, some of the successes we've had, and as I do it internally, I start getting myself excited, and I'm like, we got to talk about this. We got to, I want to, these are the reasons why, Reynolds is the place to be. Reynolds is the company to work for, and why I'm excited to be representing them at this show. And so it comes pretty naturally for me because I have so much fun in doing it. I'm also kind of a FOMO guy, fear of missing out.
Yeah.
And I used to hear sales guys that were like, oh, I'm so excited. I'm not on the NADA list. And I was like, I would cry. I mean, I want to be a part of that.
Right.
To me, it gives me so much pride in our company and our people, and I would hate to miss it.
Yeah. How many is this for you this year?
I tried to do the math, and I think this is number 24.
24.
So not quite half of the ones they've ever had,
right?
But pretty dang close.
24. Wow. Yeah, we've been, so Reynolds as a company, I mean, this will be our 59th consecutive, which makes us by far the longest running exhibitor, which is really exciting. So man, 24. I'm sure you got some stories.
Well, there's a few. Some I can actually tell, but I think one of the things that stood out for me from an NADA was when we first brought DocuPad out.
Yeah.
And NADA is one of those places where you'll come in and the latest, hottest thing is there, and there's 110 companies that all have booths showing that stuff, and then that latest thing doesn't become anything, and the next year none of them are there, and it's something else. And the first, so I don't get really impressed when I see some of the new stuff.
Yeah.
And the first time I saw DocuPad, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the real deal.
Yeah.
And then kind of watching customers see it was just like one of those things. They're like, holy crap.
Yeah, the light bulbs start going off.
Oh my God. And it was like, this is so different. And so, that's probably one of the most memorable things to me. I also love, we have some of these, in the past, we had some customer parties, and getting to spend time with our customers at those was just a tremendous experience. And over 24 years, I've developed great friendships that started at NADA.
Yeah. Well, and that's, to me, that is the best part, is just because you can stand there and you can talk for hours, right? And you get to know people on a different level. You talk about their business, certainly, but just in a friendly environment. And I love, that's one of my favorite parts of the year, really, not just NADA, but the year, just being able to be on that floor and just connecting with people and talking to people. And dealers are obviously the most fun people to talk to in the world anyhow. Yeah. So the time just kind of flies by, but I'm with you. I love it.
So one of my other favorites is Willie Daughters, our Chief Operating Officer. It was his first one in the Reynolds booth with us working together. And
Willie's going to be on stage Thursday.
Yeah,
so
yeah, he has a speaking role.
Yep.
And it was funny because, he and I have become fast friends. But somebody came up to him, and it was a lady, and said, is Dave Bates here? So, well, Dave's busy right now. Can I help you with something? She said, no, I need to see Dave. And so she circled back around.
That could be good or it could be bad.
It was wonderful. They circled back around, and she came up and she gave me a great big hug. And I'm like, it's so good to see you. And I'm talking to her. And she walks away, and he goes, well, Dave, who is that? I go, that was Betsy Eagle, John Eagle's wife. He goes, how do you know the dealer's wife? I said, well, because they're friends. They're partners.
Right.
And then about 10 minutes after that, a young lady by the name of Lynn Law, who was also married to a CFO of a dealership, came up and said, I need to see Dave Bates, please. And she was with her husband and gave me a big hug and said, it's so good to see you. And the look on Willie's face was priceless. It was like, how does this work? How does this happen? But that's just kind of the relation. I mean, this is a relationship business. And
it is.
That's the kind of relationships that I think I've been lucky enough to develop over the years with dealers and their spouses and people that are there with them.
Well, to be fair, you're a pretty likable guy. I mean, you're easy to and fun to talk to, but and you also help people, and I think that's a big part of our industry. But a thing that you do so well is you're always there to help, right? No matter what the situation is. So I think that makes a big difference too, and people respect that and appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So this year we're in New Orleans, right? And I swear the best stories come out of New Orleans. Yeah, there's Vegas, but for whatever reason, New Orleans has this vibe that it's just a little different.
Yep.
What's one of your favorite memories or best stories from New Orleans?
Well, there's a casino in New Orleans, and there's been times when I've been at the craps table with a local dealer, with some other dealers, and we've done very well, and just kind of having that kind of fun. But as you go down to Bourbon Street, I think one of the things I love about Bourbon Street is you got music coming from everywhere. The town's got such great food. And I remember one year, there was one location that we kept, and I don't remember the name of the place to save my life, but there was one location that we went to, and it was funny because there was all the Reynolds crew there. And there was also all the ex-Reynolds crew that are now working at other companies. And you know what? We were all just hugging each other, and it was great to see each other. And you just have a really good time. This is this is an industry that's so connected. And I just love walking down. One of my other favorites is in New Orleans, you can get a Lucky Dog. You know what a Lucky Dog is?
Nope.
So they have carts out on Bourbon Street. And it's kind of like going to a Waffle House at 3 a.m. You're walking down, you're going back to the hotel. It's late at night, and you get this thing that you probably would never eat, it's just something you would, like a White Castle.
Yeah.
You would not eat it unless it was 2 o'clock in the morning and you just needed a little something. And so the beauty of those is they taste so good. And then you get up in the morning, you see all the mustard that you spilled all over yourself. So we had a couple of our associates getting on the bus early in the morning and kind of looking at each other, and they were like, wow. And they looked down, and they had the coat on that they had the night before, and all of them had mustard. I go, oh, Lucky Dogs, huh? So it's such a fun town. And, it's that laissez le bon temps rouler, let the good times roll. And that's really their culture and their being in it. And so it makes it fun.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's a great town, great vibe. I can't wait to be down there. It's definitely going to be a fantastic show, but also just good to reconnect with everybody.
Absolutely.
What are you looking forward to the most? Both obviously from Reynolds, we have a lot going on, a lot to show off. So maybe that, but then also just in general, what are you looking forward to the most?
Well, I was thinking about it last week, and one of the things is Reynolds has been accused from time to time of being like a battleship. We don't move quick sometimes, and I stopped and thought
Not in a while though.
Yeah, I stopped and thought about all the things that we've done in the last year that are embedded in our solutions that are going to help dealers be more successful, and there is so much new stuff that if I was a dealer, I'd go to Reynolds first thing in the morning and make sure I could get back the next day, because it's going to be hard to see all of it. And there's so much. I mean, that's from a solutions perspective. I'm really excited about where we're at as a company and the progress we've made over the last few years with both product and people and how we do things in the industry.
Yeah, so just on that though, I've been getting really excited because I completely agree with you. And we have the Reynolds booth. Obviously, it's the biggest standalone vendor booth at the show. Can't miss it. Biggest booth we've ever had. So there's a ton to see in the Reynolds booth. Obviously, we're leaning in a lot to artificial intelligence. We built out the Spark AI data layer that all of our AI tools pull from and push to really create a different environment. So there's some great stuff in the Reynolds booth. You could probably spend 5 hours in there, kind of going from place to place, but also in our broader village. I'm really excited about that this year too. I mean, we have this massive footprint, and I was kind of going around in my head thinking about all the booths, right? And every single one of them has something that, in my opinion, and I think it's a pretty valid one, everybody should see. Like there's at least one thing you have to take time to see. I was going around and I was like, okay, AGWS, which is our insurance company and F&I company. We've built out this integration inside of AirIgnite where you can submit a claim straight from Ignite, never have to open up another browser or go to a portal. It'll get paid automatically. Everything's built into the system, right? So that's one thing. And then you go to AutoVision and you have Avery, which is the AI assistant there, like just an amazing piece of technology that I don't know if you knew this, AJ McGowan, who's the founder of AutoVision, he gave me like a little sneak peek of this last year at NADA. He's like, hey, I was working on this last night. And he like built out this AI agent. Obviously, he's refined it over the last year, but really impressive there. And then, you go to Proton, cybersecurity, and we have this very cool way to look at your cyber score and, okay, how many email addresses have been breached and that type of stuff. And then even KeyTrack, right? KeyTrack is always a hit at the show, and we have some really cool technology with mobility, partnering with TrueSpot there. And, you just keep going around and around. And Goobagoo. I mean, Goobagoo's got Curator, which is if you're going to see one thing at NADA, you got to go see this thing. It's pretty amazing. We have TSD in the village this year, brand new acquisition for us, showing off a lot of cool stuff. So even law, right, and the compliance audits for seeing what forms need to be updated. Like there's just so much. You're right. Carve out some time and come see us.
There's a wow factor every place you stop inside our booth, whether it's the main Reynolds booth or the rest of the village. I mean, it's just that's what I was talking about. Is there's so much that we've done over the last year. If you haven't seen Reynolds lately, you're really missing a lot. And that's from a business perspective, that's what I'm excited about. The other thing I'm excited about is I love dealers.
Yeah.
The people that work in this business are really neat people, and I love the fact that I get to see so many of them, and I've had some that they've come by and just said, I just want to come by and say hi. I hadn't seen you in a year, and that I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that this is such a cool industry. Chris Wallace likes to say it's one of the largest, smallest industries in the world that, it's only, it's big from a standpoint of footprint, but everybody is connected and everybody, I mean, there's a lot of relationships that are there. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, me too. So the other side of, the NADA show is everything else that goes on, right? Like we get very excited to connect and we're on the floor and it's a whirlwind of 3 days or 2.5, I suppose. But, it's also great to see the connections that are made there, right? And whether that's with, dealers having their OEM meetings, whether that's us meeting with dealers, whether that's, us meeting with other companies, right? Yeah. And there's all these connections that get made. And I love that. It's interesting. You look at dealer registrations over the years and it was last year I was having a conversation with somebody who said, yeah, it's a great year. And I forget the exact number, but, a few thousand. And they're like, no, there's like 25,000 people here. And it took me a second to step back and go, well, yeah, when you consider everybody that's here, but that's what encompasses the industry. Obviously, we focus on dealers because they drive everything, right? Dealers are the linchpin and the ones that we want to make sure are the most successful. But when you look at the industry as a whole, you're right, it's huge. And it's so fun to make those connections and be able to work together on things.
Well, one of the neatest things last year was I got to go to the Sphere. And you want to talk about audio-visual overload? It was like, oh my gosh, it was really neat. And I think NADA does such a great job of kind of this stuff. And I know on Friday morning at 10 o'clock or 10:02, we're going to hear a Dixieland jazz band going up and down the aisles, and it just when I think of that, I get tingles. I mean, it's just like, all right, we're ready.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. You're right, because it just puts you in that mindset, and then you know what's about to happen, right? The energy just comes and it's flooded, and the next set of hours you're just on, and then you look up and it's like, I should probably get some lunch. Like it's 3 p.m.
Yeah, I'll tell you, in my 24 years, I don't think I've had one lunch.
No?
I have a good breakfast in the morning, and then until we're done, and I can live off the land for a little bit, so it's not a big deal. But it's just one of those things,
Yeah, you're just in it.
I think back to my very first NADA.
Do you know what year it was?
No. It was the last year they were in Atlanta.
Okay.
Whatever that was. But I was on the setup team. And the setup team were they're the folks that come in and do all the heavy lifting and help make sure that when everybody shows up on that first day, that everything's ready to go and working and looking good. But back then, our booth was like building a house. I mean, it literally, and the amount of hardware gear that you had to have. So we would come in a week early.
Yep.
We would do the show and then stay a week later. So it was almost like a 3-week adventure. And when you got home, you were exhausted. But that year was, I remember going in the night before the show to make sure everything was working. And I'm looking around and there's trash on the floors and the carpet's not down. And I'm like, this doesn't look very good. And you come in the next morning and it's pristine.
Yeah.
Carpet's laid everywhere, and it was just unbelievable. So I've got a practice routine too that I use to get myself ready for NADA.
Okay.
I go out into my garage. It's got a cement floor, and I stand on it for 8 hours. And when I can't feel my feet anymore, I know, all right, I'm ready to go. I'm ready for NADA.
Got the reps in. You're good.
That's it.
It's not that bad anymore.
No.
The carpet's
It's better.
Thickish.
Shoes are better.
Yeah, shoes are a little better. Yeah, but you're right that when it's a Thursday, right, and you just see everything coming together, but it's not together.
Yeah.
And the number of forklifts that can zoom up and down those aisles at, it seems like about 35 miles an hour and not hit each other, it amazes me every time.
Yeah.
I can stand there and just watch it in awe. Like, wow, how do they not run into something? I don't know.
No, it's an amazing event, and I credit NADA. They do a phenomenal job every year of pulling it together and making it happen. And like I said, I would cry if I wasn't a part of it. So.
Yeah. Well, we would too. I think everybody else would too. All right. So who's the one person that you really hope to see at NADA this year? I mean, I know there's probably like 100, but
there are 100. And it's funny. My wife asked me that a couple years ago. And there's a dealer, one of our customers, Carlos Ledesma of Cable Dahmer.
Yep.
Carlos to me is a great leader, a great human. And I just enjoy talking to him because I feel like I learned something when I do. I think he cares about his people, he cares about his community, he cares about his business. So Carlos is always somebody that I look forward to seeing. But there is a bunch. There's a whole bunch that every year I hope I get to spend some time with and check in with. So.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. Well, Dave, what else haven't we talked about that we should? Anything else that's on your mind as we head into NADA week and get ready to hit the ground running?
Well, I think it's just one of those things that, as I said earlier, if you haven't seen Reynolds lately, you need to come and see, because we're doing. Our whole focus is how do we help dealers be more successful. But the commitment we've made to the industry and some of the things we're doing with and partnering with the OEMs and working with third parties to try and make this a better, ecosystem for automotive. We've done some amazing things, and I'm very proud of our company and our people, and I think you'll be amazed by our products. So if you got to see only one booth, don't miss the Reynolds booth.
100% agree. It was funny, before we started recording, we were talking yesterday how we had a customer in, a dealer in looking to come to Reynolds, not a current customer, but looking to come to Reynolds. And so we had them into our facility, and I think we were both with them for some portion of the day. Mm-hmm. And, by the end of the day, they just said, wow, I'm pretty hard to impress, but I'm impressed. And you always hope that that's the takeaway. Yeah. But, NADA is the time. You have time, you're there. come see it. We'll try to impress you.
Well, that's one of the other things when we bring people here to our innovation center and show them all the things we've done and we're doing. A lot of even our existing customers, because they're busy every day,
right,
and they're working in the dealerships every day. They walk away going, "I had no idea," and this is a great way for us to show somebody, and NAD is that environment that really, whatever you want to see. We're kind of like Google Automotive. One of the things about Google is they've got an answer for everything. Well, right now, I think Reynolds & Reynolds is a little bit like Google Automotive. We've got an answer for everything automotive.
Yep, I love it. Well, Dave Bates, Mr. NADA, the legend, Chief Customer Ambassador at Reynolds & Reynolds, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm looking forward to an awesome weekend coming up at NADA.
Me too. Thanks, Craig.
All right, thanks. I love getting to sit down and talk with Dave Bates. It's always fun. It's always engaging, and he's just a wealth of knowledge and stories. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did, and I really do hope that we get to see you next weekend at NADA in New Orleans. If we don't, make sure to check out rayray.com/NADA and check us out on our social channels. We'll be posting all weekend long. Before we hop off, don't forget you can watch or listen to all episodes of Connected on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify podcasts. And make sure to hit subscribe so you're notified every other week when new episodes are released. Thanks so much, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.